Governments deny it. Militaries deny it. Even the mainstream media denies it. But they are here, and they've been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing that truth with you. Welcome to MUFON What's Up with your hosts, Katie Page, Christopher DePerno, and Tara Diulis. Exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and I hope you all are starting the week out fantastically. You are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. As always, we're endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? I am your host, Katie Page, State Director for Colorado, and boy, you know, it's about time we have Bob Spearing on the show as our guest, because every week he comes and he gives us these great cases from around the world, international MUFON, and he is our special guest tonight, and I can't wait to learn more about Bob. So also, I really like to share these conferences. You know, it's that time of year again where everybody, you know, can get out there. And if a conference is close to you, anywhere close to you, I really want to encourage all of you to get out there and attend these conferences, because that's where connections are made and lifelong friendships are made and everything. And we learn so much from each other. So the first one I want to talk about is one that's happening just the next weekend. Right here in my own backyard. It's the Pikes Peak Paranormal Conference. This one covers, you know, UFOs, Bigfoot, paranormal. We have Mindy Talfes is going to be out here, who's the state director from Oklahoma. It's going to be great to have Mindy out here. Chuck Zukowski with these recent cattle mutilations is going to be there. I'll be speaking and I'll be there. And Jeremy Ray is going to be hanging out with us too from Hangar One. So it's going to be a great time, and that's in Cripple Creek, Colorado. So I'm so looking forward to that. Also, we have the Contact in the Desert out there in Indian Wells, California. Contact in the Desert is June 2nd through the 4th. And that one is just packed with, there's so much to do there. You're not going to be able to pick and choose what you want to do. I mean, you have schedules and it's just so much. So that's going to be fantastic. Also, so that's on the West Coast. On the East Coast, we have the Pine Bush UFO Fest. And that's going to be held Saturday, June 3rd. We have Kathleen Martin, Travis Walton, Thomas Reed, Bill Wand, and it's a fantastic town. I think Chris DePerno is going to be there. Maybe Bob, Tara, you know what? We'll ask him when we get him on the show. So they all hope to see you out there in New York. And last but not least, we have the MUFON Symposium, August 24th through the 27th. That is in Cincinnati, Ohio. That Thursday, we have MUFON training as well on the 24th. That's a full day. Like, get up early, you're training all day. Again, you meet such wonderful people who are interested in the things you are, and it's a fantastic day. So hope to see you out there in Cincinnati. Shemazel. Okay, anyway, let's bring our co-hosts in, and let's see, we have Tara Diulis. You can see Tara on Sky Tour Live right here on KGRA with Mark D'Antonio. Hi, Tara, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, Katie? What's up, everyone? Hi.
Thank you all for being here, too, by the way. Let's bring on Chris DePerno, Jerry and Jenna. And Chris is the state director for New York. And are they on vacation again?
No, I got a note from Jerry. He says, "Dear Chris, have gone to California for a bit. Am trying to break into the movies. We'll talk to you later."
Good luck. I should just see him. You know, he'd be a big star. He would totally be a big star.
Well, he'd be a little star.
Yes.
Little big star.
But he'd shine brightly. Yes.
Yeah, okay. He'll shine all right.
That's funny. So Tara,
but they will return, because I don't think he's going to go anywhere.
Oh, I hope so. They're missing him. So.
Have faith. Now, wait a minute. Are your kids or your friends, or I was going to say, have faith in your kids.
Have you been smoking dope? My kids are They're two aliens. I mean, listen, I am not exactly what you would call Brad Pitt, but I don't look like that guy back there. For God's sakes.
We'll have faith in your alien friends. He might be a big star one day.
Really?
Hey,
They
Lori,
can eat your words.
Lori, guess what? We just had a couple of kids I didn't realize. Oh my
We
God.
have to keep track of them like kids, right?
Yeah, you can treat them like kids, but they're not. Listen, you can take a DNA test. They ain't mine. I can tell you that.
That's funny. Tara, what do you have to kick us off?
Oh, you guys are silly. Okay. Well, today's vintage meme shows step number 1 in the UFO Alien Goodwill program. So look, they straightened up the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Yay. That's an OCD person. Thank goodness for that.
See, they're here to help. It's just so all these wonderful conferences. There's the UFO conferences coming up in Roswell at the end of May and
That's
first
right.
part of
I need to
June. So make sure you visit the Roswell Museum and Research Center during that 2023 UFO Festival events. The Museum and Research Center was organized to inform the public about what has come to be known as the Roswell incident. But the interesting thing is they're a nonprofit 501c3 corporation, and they're dedicated to the collection and preservation of materials and information in the written, audio, and visual formats that are related to the 1947 Roswell incident and other unexplained phenomena. So there will be a ufologist invasion during the June 30th and July 2nd event, and lots of speakers will be there at this, including Kathleen Martin, Peter Robbins, and Travis Walton. And if you could go back just a bit, one more, Amanda, please. There's the nonprofit museum is open daily and operates through donations, admissions, memberships, and gift shop sales. However, if you're unable to be there in person, you can visit their website. It's roswellufomuseum.com. And thank you. You can go on, Amanda, and where you can find all sorts of fun things in their gift shop. For instance, you can find shirts, and then you can find toys, and they have tons of books and hats, of course. And they have sports gear, and check out these cool alien-eyed sunglasses. And it's definitely a necessity when visiting the back gate of Area 51.
You guys.
Or just hanging around with friends, of course. They're fun. So the International UFO Museum and Research Center at Roswell, New Mexico. Check them out, everyone. Lots of cool stuff to find. And check out this set of 3 Sasquatch chocolates. You can choose your flavor from salted caramel, dark chocolate, chocolate mint, and milk chocolate. And they're
cute.
Aren't they kind of different? They're each about 3 inches tall, solid chocolate, and can be found along with other wonderful, fun, edible gifts at where else? ParanormalPops.com.
Hey, Tara, I'm so happy you brought up the Roswell Fest because KGRA will be there as well. They're going to have a booth.
Yeah.
I'll be down there interviewing the speakers and that. And so thank you for doing that.
Oh, it's going to be a fun time. And again, if you can't be there in person, go to their website. It's a great cause. And it's something we're all interested in, this UFO subject. So
you think?
Yeah, I think so. It's just, but we all can't get out because it's on the West Coast, so it's hard for everybody to travel. It's expensive.
Yeah, it
I
is.
thought the government says there was no evidence of UFOs.
Oh, yeah. Well, the museum is awesome, Bill. I agree with you. Well, you got to listen to all sorts of information. Don't judge and make your decisions based on one piece of facts, people. No. So that's the important thing. But going on, don't forget, it's important to stay hydrated and fuel up, everyone. So drink water mixed with Fuel Up. There you go, Katie. And you need to hydrate your cells and boost your immune system. They have Wake for motivation and Play for concentration, which again is my favorite, and Rest for rejuvenation. So visit fuelup.gg/MUFON for our special offers, and fuel up for life, everyone. And Chris, what do you have going on for us today?
Well, not a lot. That's the end of the show.
No. Oh my gosh. I know that was a long stuff.
I got an email from somebody.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it says, "Dear Chris, there was a very unusual thing that happened in New Jersey. a lot of pasta has been thrown in this very secluded place under suspicious circumstances. Do you think it was aliens?
Pasta.
Pasta throwing aliens.
I
That's a
couldn't
new
help
one.
it. I could not resist it. So that's my first news story of the day.
Oh my
All
God.
Hundreds
right.
of pounds of
Buckle up.
pasta mysteriously dumped along creek in New Jersey. Authorities in New Jersey are investigating a very strange mystery wherein someone dumped hundreds of pounds of pasta along the side of a creek. The bizarre case reportedly came to light last week when residents Nina Janazowitz shared photos of a massive mounds of macaroni, elbows, spaghetti, and there might have been some baked pita in there. I'm not sure. That has been found inexplicably left next to a stream in the community of Old Bridge. I guess somebody didn't like the pasta. Noting that the wooded area is frequently used as a dumping grounds for sizable pieces of garbage and construction materials, she laminated that the piles of pasta represented something of a new low of cold on town officials to clean up the mess, which she estimated to be 500. Hey, listen, that kind of goes with his hair.
That's why it was by the water. It has to get
500
Yeah,
pounds in total. Other Javakovitz's jaw-dropping images quickly went spiral, spawning all manner of pasta-related puns from people online. Unfortunately, it caught the attention of the Old Bridge Department of Public Works, which descended on the scene and removed the tasty trash. I'm sorry, I don't know if these aliens have a taste for Italian food, but who knows? Detailing the job in a statement, the department confirmed that a whopping 15 wheelbarrow loads of the food had been illegally dumped in the area. Now, folks, I can tell you this might be a mystery, but I don't think it's an alien. Believe it. While police are trying to determine who left the pasta next to the creek, one aspect of the mystery may have been solved by the DPW revealed that contrary to initial speculation, the food was apparently uncooked and had been removed from the packaging where it was left in the woods, where it became soft due to moisture in the air. Amanda, you got to roll that video.
Yuck.
At the hundreds of pounds of pasta that was dumped in the woods in Old Bridge. Yeah, that's pasta. A woman posted photos of the heaps of food along a stream of Veterans Park. She says it's evidence of a larger issue of illegal dumping, clearly. This is in Old Bridge specifically, and a lack of bulk garbage pickup. The town's public works crew removed all of that spaghetti, but still no word on who dumped it.
It's a lot of carbo loading.
Was that spaghetti? I got to see that close up
There's
again.
noodles and then there's pasta. There's a little bit of
so there's all
everything.
kinds. Okay,
Yeah.
I just wanted
Assorted.
to. I wanted to.
And so clearly we do have a problem, Old Bridge, because if someone can bring a whole truck of pasta, dump it, drive out, and nobody even knows it.
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, did you notice that it's not just dry pasta? Somebody
It looked like it was cooked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Strange.
Okay.
They don't mention aliens, but Amanda said, "Did you see the bowl? It looked like a cow." I don't know, Amanda. Can you pull that picture
I
back
can
up?
tell you this. I will tell that wonderful listener that I do not think it's aliens because they don't eat pasta. If it was a cow's ass, I would say you're right on the money. But it ain't pasta. All right, let's get to the next story.
Oh my.
Maybe it goes good with the cow mutilations. You know, a little cow blood because they don't take the steaks and a little pasta.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
They just don't know portion sizes, I think.
Instead of
You know
salad,
what?
they have the pasta.
You know what? As soon as one of them lands in my front yard, I'll ask him if he wants Italian. Maybe he wants Japanese. I don't know.
Or the pancakes. Remember the pancake story?
Yeah,
They might
the
want
Yes,
potato
they
chips.
do eat pancakes.
They eat pancakes.
Pasta and pancakes.
God help me.
They like
Russian
keywords.
scientists train what?
I said they're like
Anyways.
keywords.
Oh, God. Russian scientists train people to contact aliens, says George Knapp. Investigative journalist George Knapp revealed that he learned when the USSR collapsed in the early 90s, a brief window of opportunity opened. With the help of a well-connected Russian physicist, journalist George Knapp revealed to Moscow and interviewed high-ranking Russian military officials and scientists about what might be the largest UFO study ever conducted. The witnesses, who have never before spoken with any journalist, confirmed the Russian military had conducted a 10-year nationwide investigation into UFOs and UFO technology. The Russians also knew plenty what the U.S. government had been doing with UFO investigations. Both governments had been lying to their citizens. You think? During their in-depth conversation about the Russian UFO and the alien research, Knapp tells Corbell they have this gigantic UFO study that goes on for 10 years, and then another one replaces it. And they're trying to figure out, how do we duplicate alien technology? Knapp then goes on to explain the next guy we talked to is a general. He's a lieutenant general named Alexei Savan. And I didn't really want to delve into remote viewing with him. While they were there, Lieutenant General Savan, really made a point to make himself available to us. He had developed, in essence, a remote viewing, and he showed that some training films that were there, where they would take a Russian sailor, put him down in the bottom of a ship, and then ask him to identify where other naval assets were around it, were being able to look in through this window and see everything from submarine ships, and they were really accurate about it. And then he decided that he was going to show that the techniques could be taught to anyone. So we walked into our second meeting with him and had the whole room full of women. He had handpicked regular people to show that this is something that anybody can be taught. That's amazing. Everyone has some kind of abilities. And he was showing this in part because the remote viewers, when they got good, would run into what they call cosmic intelligence. They would be able to communicate with other intelligence that wasn't from this earth. Amanda, we got to see that video.
Radar at the Leningrad airport detects first one, then two, then three unidentified objects hovering over a nuclear plant. From a dead stop, the UFO zipped away at 2,000 miles per hour. The Urals, 1976. A photographer clicks this shot and later provides a more detailed drawing. May 1992. A military team in the Kola Peninsula tapes this spinning object. In Tbilisi, a crew shooting a music video spots this overhead. Today, average Russians are free to discuss UFOs, but it wasn't always so. Through the 50s and 60s, the Kremlin declared UFOs a capitalist creation, thus a non-topic. But behind the scenes, Stalin and other leaders authorized secret UFO studies. Retired Colonel Boris Sokolov commanded such a study for 10 years. The entire Russian military took part. Thousands of reports were generated, but were kept secret until 1993, when Sokolov first spoke to us. The study included 40 incidents of Russian warplanes encountering UFOs. One MiG had its wing damaged in a collision with a UFO. This former pilot says a UFO disabled his plane with a beam of light. In 1982, a UFO hovered over a nuclear missile base in the Ukraine for hours. Unexplainably, codes were entered and the missiles were ready for launch until the UFO vanished. General Igor Maltsev, for 7 years commander of the entire Soviet air defense system, recalls a UFO flap over Moscow in 1990. Hundreds of visual and radar observations by military personnel. Maltsev confirms his standing order was, don't fire on the UFOs, but he declines to say much else. His boss, the former deputy defense minister, declined to speak altogether under orders. And even Sokolov is now reluctant to talk, in part because he was attacked in communist newspapers following our 1993 interview. There's more than one kind of chill in the Moscow air these days.
With the double political whammy of the revived communists and the scary nationalists, the Russian government needs a UFO expose like it needs a red, white, and blue paint job on the Kremlin.
Science has received the message. Individuals and the Russian Academy are now downplaying their long-term studies of UFOs. Oddly, the KGB has opened up, including a release of this long secret film of a UFO. KGB adds it has no ongoing interest in flying saucers, although it does have several hundred files.
You see, the Russians are absolutely going after the same thing we are, and they're doing the same thing. They are not telling anybody anything. It's crazy, isn't it? We all know it's out there, but nobody in an official capacity wants to open their mouth and say, yeah, they're here.
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, I totally believe in all that remote viewing stuff, so it's interesting that that's all part of it as well. It's been going on for a long time. So.
Yeah, remote viewing has been part of the U.S. government for years.
Mhm.
They've done it, they've researched it, and it's probably still going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder, like, do you think there's a country that maybe is in the forefront and will come out before, the United States, if anybody ever does?
I
And I
think
also
some
have
South American countries have acknowledged the existence of UFOs, but it doesn't do any good because, the U.S. government, the Russian government, all the bigwigs will not acknowledge it with them. So they kind of go, okay, let's say Brazil comes out and says, hey, we think these things are extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Basically, they say, well, that's nice. So let's go on to the next subject. We need to have a credible, absolute credible U.S. government person who's active in the government now get to a podium and say, we cannot explain these things. They're not the Chinese. They're not the Russians. They're nobody from Australia. It's not Canada. It's extraterrestrials. And until we do that, we're just running around like mice in a circle.
Yeah. Hey, good luck finding
Yep.
that person.
Yeah.
And also, I was working today and I was listening to some Gaia. There's a lot of good stuff on Gaia, a little plug for Gaia. And they were talking about, Vladimir Putin and these different countries and ET races. And I mean, they were implementing that, and this was a conversation between Tim and Dwayne Ollinger, interestingly enough, has some interesting connections to this kind of stuff. That these different races of beings are working with different countries for different purposes, both good and evil. Do you believe that, Tara and Chris?
Tara, go ahead.
I have no personal knowledge of that happening, but inside, deep down, I totally believe it.
I have always come to the idea that I don't think some species of aliens are very good. I think they're hostile. I think they're here to wreck us so they can take over this place. I mean, if you think about what Earth is all about, water, carbon, oxygen, we have all these different things here. It's a great place. If we can kind of keep it that way, it really is. And so why wouldn't, remember, every civilization has always tried to conquer another civilization. What makes you think that the aliens are any different? They come to here and they say, look at these dumbass, humans. Let's take them over and we'll do it in a way that we don't have to do anything. Yeah, I believe in hostile aliens.
Well, I believe that maybe, if there's any truth to different races of beings seeding, humans, maybe they don't want to take us down and maybe they're here for our good. So I'm a believer of that there's both. Yep. And I also believe you can't put them all in just baskets. You can't say this is all good, this is all bad. We're all not all good and bad, but so there's that. It's interesting video.
We think that they're different from us as a civilization. And look at how we treat different civilizations. We don't go to another country and say, hey, you people have your own culture. This is great. What a wonderful way. Let's bond.
It's true.
I mean, you certainly don't see that in Taiwan.
How it should be.
Yeah.
Right.
But we would all hope that if they're so far advanced that they would all be good. They had worked some of this negative stuff out. But you just don't know.
No.
You just don't know.
And you know what? And our guest is talked about this before. He truly believes that there's been galactic wars, that whether they're about us, whether they're not about us, but they absolutely believe that, there's good and evil in every civilization. And we're thinking that because the aliens are so advanced, they could be warlike creatures too, just like we are.
That's true. You need yin and yang for sure.
Yeah, I really made this show tonight. You're all going to go sleep with the doors locked tonight.
Right. I'm going to assume that we don't have a Bob video this week because He's our guest because we got the Bob. We actually have Bob. So is it time to bring him in?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, well, good. Okay, let me read a little bio here. Bob Spearing is the International Director of Investigations for the Mutual UFO Network MUFON, where he oversees every international case sent to MUFON. Mr. Spearing is one of the brightest and most dedicated certified field investigators in the MUFON organization. Mr. Spearing's expertise is putting patterns together and extracting vital information from them and making sense of the UAP phenomenon. So let's bring him on the show. Welcome, Bob. It's so great to have you here.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hey,
We are
Bob.
doing good, or I'm doing good. I can't speak for everybody here, but I'm doing fantastic.
Thank you for having me on.
Oh, thanks for being here. It's about time.
Yep.
So, Bob, I would like personally just to kind of get you to talk about your background, what you do, where you're from, and how you kind of got started in this whole field in the first place.
Okay, well, I was born in 59, so I remember the blackout of November of 1965. All of the lights went out in Jersey City. I was just about 6 years old. And the next morning, my uncle came running over the house saying they believe aliens caused the blackout. And I subsequently came to learn that there were several UFO reports that night over the Clay Power Station in Niagara Falls. My uncle was very into UFOs, so he started buying me these Gold Key comic books called UFO. He started buying me Saga magazines in the 70s, and when Chariots of the Gods came out, I was in 5th grade, he bought that for me, and I was hooked after that with Eric Von Daniken. In 1986, I had the first of 3 UFO sightings. It wasn't spectacular. None of them were. The last one was weird, but I was camping at a place called Round Valley Reservoir in a remote part of New Jersey. It was raining. It was late at night. I was sitting on the beach on an overturned canoe and heavy cloud cover. And we see me and my friend sitting on this canoe, a pink star coming towards us over the lake. And we're looking at each other going, it's not a star because it's under a lot of clouds. It's pouring rain. We're in our ponchos. And we're watching it for about 40 minutes just in one place over the lake. All of a sudden, it drops, stops, does a semicircle, stops, and then shoots off at like light speed. And we looked at each other and said, what was that? It wasn't until many years later that a Pennsylvania field investigator named Terry Ray wrote a book on orbs. And that's when I discovered that the orange orb phenomenon was something that was not unique to me seeing over this lake, but that thousands, if not tens of thousands of people have seen it.
Right. You really dive deep into that. So I'd like to get into that later too with the orange orbs, because I know you've been pulling cases on that for a long time. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I don't want to forget that. We're going to talk about that.
Okay. All right. Second sighting I had was I was on a train going from Jersey City to Newark, and it's all meadowlands out there. Beautiful sunny day. It's about 2012, and I look out the window of the train, and pacing the train, which is going about 60 miles an hour, was this silver metallic sphere. And I'd say it was about half a mile away, and it was going 60 miles an hour. And I'd say it was about 15 feet in diameter. And when we hit the Newark skyline, it just simply shot off ahead and went over the tallest buildings in Newark, and that was the end of it. Again, nothing, exciting. The third one wasn't really a UFO. I was driving back from Quebec, and I was on the highway that goes past Lake Placid, very, very remote area. We always call it the dead zone when we're on our way back to New Jersey. You're in the Adirondack Mountains. I'm doing it in winter. There's no cars on the highway except me, and just forest and mountains on both sides. As I'm driving, I look to my right, and there's a clearing in the trees, and you could see this sheer cliff. And I saw this giant, it looked like a tank with triangular wheels, and it was climbing up a sheer 90-degree cliff, and it was the size of a tractor trailer. And I'm in the middle of nowhere. I did a U-turn, came back around, but it was gone by the time I saw it. And to this day, that is the weirdest thing I ever saw. Wow. Anyway, the Terry Ray book got me interested in MUFON, and I bought the book. I went to see him at a MUFON convention in 2013.
What is the name of that book?
The Complete Story of the Worldwide Invasion of Orange Orbs.
Oh,
Okay, very long title, but he basically takes dozens and dozens of MUFON cases of orange orbs, and I'd say there was probably close to 200 cases, and then he does a deep analysis of what he believed they were. I went to see him. I spoke with him at the convention. It was in Pittsburgh, and I decided to join MUFON. I became a field investigator in 2014. My background is I went to Fordham University in the Bronx, and I was a journalism, film production, advertising. I even took a course called Propaganda and Public Opinion and subliminal advertising and creative writing. I like to write, so I've always considered myself somewhat of a journalist, and I write for a lot of different magazines and for the MUFON Journal. The film production aspect of it, I believe, helped me to become a pretty good photo analyst from MUFON. Yeah. I also worked for a railroad for the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey for 34 years. I did a lot of things. I drove trains. I was a rail traffic controller, which is like a two-dimensional air traffic controller. I was a safety specialist. I used to investigate suicides, derailments. I did all sorts of forensic activity for the railroad. And I just worked my way up through MUFON to the point where, suddenly they asked me to be head of the special assignment team, which was sort of the X-Files of MUFON at the time. It was discontinued just because we weren't getting that many great cases at the time. But then our COO back 3 years ago, Ken St. John, asked me if I'd like to be Director of International Investigations, and that's where I am now. And it also allows me to get my fingers into all sorts of great projects at MUFON, and I'm very grateful to MUFON for all of the opportunities that they've given me.
Wow.
So cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish I had a resume like that and stuff. Bob, you and I have been friends for a long time. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions here that you and I have discussed, because I think it's important the listeners hear it. One, we just talked about hostile aliens and space wars and all that other stuff. You have talked that in the ancient times, like ancient alien stuff, that there have been galactic wars. Can you explain that?
I don't know if I said that there were galactic wars. I believe what we used to talk about was that there was definitely interference by outside parties in some of our ancient wars. For sure, when the Romans were invading the Pontus, which is now modern-day Turkey, around 73 BC, there was definitely intervention by an object which sent both armies scurrying. As a result, Rome was able to regroup. They were losing badly, and they invaded Pontus, worked their way all the way down into Israel, and Israel obviously became a center point in history as we know it today. That same type of object interfered even earlier in a battle between Pharaoh Thutmose III, ancient Egypt's most successful military pharaoh, who had 42 military victories and no defeats. He was going against the Nubians, who were rebelling against his rule, and this is about 3,500 years ago. As the armies approached each other, again, a white object came down and systematically destroyed the Nubian army, just obliterated them in a flash. And this is carved in stone on something called the Gebel Barkal Stela, which is in a museum today. It's called the Miracle of the Star. This was a very discriminating meteorite, if that's what it was, because it left Thutmose's army virtually untouched, actually totally untouched. There's other instances throughout history where it's clear that there was some sort of alien intervention. And you guys were talking about that maybe some are working with the Chinese today, some are working with the Russians. I believe that this has been going on all through history, that there are two opposing forces. I'll give you the most bizarre case that I've ever come across. In, I believe it's 571 AD, the Yemeni army, the leader of the Yemenis had converted to Christianity. And he wanted Mecca, which was still pagan at the time, this is before Muhammad was born. He wanted them to convert to Christianity. And so he amassed a modern army for its time, replete with elephants and, armor. And he attacked Mecca. And the Meccans came out with this ragtag bunch of people, 1/3 the size of the army. They had no hope of winning. They were going to be crushed. All of a sudden, in the Quran, it says that they call it the story of the year of the elephant. All these black birds came with stones in their mouths and obliterated the Yemeni army to the point where the skin was falling off. The flesh was falling off the Yemeni army's soldiers' bodies. If we look at this through the lens of a 21st century technological society, you could say that maybe what they were seeing wasn't a miracle of birds and stones, but perhaps it was modern day fighter jets that were dropping cluster bombs that could wipe out an ancient army very, very easily. What makes this more fascinating is that the leader of the Red Tag army of the Meccans was Muhammad's grandfather, and Muhammad was born in Mecca later that year. Had there not been some sort of possible futuristic intervention to save Mecca, there would probably be no Islam today. So that's why I think that there's something going on over the entire course of human history.
Do you believe they've ever manipulated the weather in order to do stuff like that?
Yes, I mean, I may be a conspiracy theorist, but I believe they're manipulating the weather today to, enforce like a greenhouse type philosophy, a Green New Deal type philosophy. But if you go back to the War of 1812, the United States was losing badly to the British. The British were attempting to split the United States in half by sending their navy up the Mississippi River. At the same time, they were attacking Washington, D.C. They had got to the point where they burned down the original White House. It looked really bad for the Americans. Looked like the British were going to retake the colonies. All of a sudden, a once in a millennium storm appeared over Washington, D.C. It was so torrential, it drove the British back. The Americans regrouped, and the United States, as we know it today, survived. I'm not against the idea that there may have been some sort of intervention, I believe technological intervention, to ensure that the United States survived, and that they used weather manipulation to do it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had to throw that in there.
Yeah, I know you liked that one when I told you that. So, yeah, I mean...
Terry, you're muted. Terry, you're muted.
Sorry, you guys. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Bob, it's just so fascinating. So I'm wondering, all of these stories from the past, do you think that the aliens or whoever it is, were helping some of those soothsayers in the past, the prophets, and were they involved with them? I mean, you kind of have some information about the planes and the sky. Is there anything about maybe the consciousness aspect of what people were experiencing?
Well, I'll give you one interesting story. One of the patterns that I study, and I've done an article on this in Outer Limits magazine in England, is the fact that a lot of people who have UFO encounters throughout history have seen, in modern times anyway, have seen a screen, all right, either come out of the UFO and show them some sort of holographic picture in front of them. And in other accounts, people who have been brought onto UFOs have been placed in front of like a giant TV screen and shown scenes of Earth's destruction. All right. And I find that very unusual. Why would they want to show these people Earth being destroyed? Is it, some sort of experiment on their part to get human reactions? Is it some sort of torture? What are they trying to accomplish? What's more interesting is that when these screens apparently come out of UFOs, they snake their way towards a person, open up, and then there'll be somebody who will talk to the person and show them scenes. If you go back to the Bible, to the book of Revelations, John the Apostle opens up the book of Revelations where he's in his cave, and all of a sudden he sees this incredible vision. All right, he sees what he believes is some sort of holy entity, and then he is shown basically the history of the end of the world. All right, if you look again through technological eyes, could John have been subject to something snaking into his cave, opening up like a screen from a UFO and showing him, scenes of the future? I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Paul, the apostle, all right, has all of the characteristics of an abduction. Sees a bright light, is blinded. When people are blinded by a UFO, it's usually because they get something called Klieg's conjunctivitis, which is caused by extreme exposure to ultraviolet rays. And 3 days later, scales were falling off his eyes. At the same time, many miles away, a fellow by the name of Ananias is asked to go fetch Paul and nurse him back to health. And Ananias is going, isn't this the guy that's persecuting Christians? Was Ananias given some sort of spiritual message to retrieve Paul, who was blinded by a possible exposure to ultraviolet light, who was given a message, who claims that he saw third heaven? Was he taken up and looking down at Earth at some point, Paul? There's all the earmarks of a classic abduction in the Road to Damascus story. So that's the type of stuff that fascinates me.
Wow. Yeah. You know your stuff. How you describe, people or contactees, abductees being shown the destruction of our planet reminds me of the scene in Lord of the Rings, right? Where the hobbits are kind of shown that futuristic version, and it's up to us to whether, to kind of go and fight and prevent that from happening. But Amanda asked a good question here in our chat. Do you think that ET influences certain people throughout history? Let's say one of my favorite characters, anybody asked me, hey, Katie, who would you want to go back and meet? I always say Leonardo da Vinci, or even people today like Elon Musk or these people. Do you think they're influenced by ET races?
Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to Elon Musk, because you brought up
Okay.
a very, very interesting thing. Werner von Braun was the Nazi scientist who invented the V2 rocket, okay, that led to the bombardment of London in World War II. When the Allies took over half of Germany at the end of World War II, Operation Paperclip basically gave these German rocket scientists an option. You can go to Nuremberg and hang at the end of a noose, all right, or you can come to the United States and work for us. Werner von Braun goes to the United States. He eventually works for NASA. He develops the Saturn V rocket, okay, which brings the Americans to the moon. When he was asked one time, how did he develop the V2 rocket? His answer was, we had help. All right. And that's as clear of an answer as he gave. Very cryptic answer. We had help. Now, remember the shape of the V2 rocket, that classic rocket with the point and the tail fins at the end launching straight up. When Werner von Braun was retiring, he wrote a novel. Okay. And basically the plot of the novel was that Earth needs to be saved by colonizing Mars. And the name of the principal character, the protagonist in his novel, is called the Elon. All right.
No way. Wow. I never knew that.
And if you look at Elon Musk's Starship, it looks exactly like a V2 rocket.
No way. Oh my goodness.
Now, what do you think of Nikola Tesla? They think Nikola Tesla might have had contact with aliens.
Yeah, Tesla believed that he was capturing radio signals from outer space. Some people believe that he was actually capturing signals from the Black Knight satellite that supposedly has been orbiting Earth for 15,000 years or more. I don't know if I'm with that story, but I do believe Tesla was believing that he was contacting some sort of extraterrestrial presence, basically because he really invented the radio before Marconi, so there was nobody else broadcasting. Okay, it couldn't have been TV signals bouncing back and interfering and making him think he's getting signals from outer space. There was nothing on Earth broadcasting except basically him and then Marconi. So if he was receiving signals, it had to be from outside the atmosphere. Okay, so the other thing is, he's a very spiritual guy. He was into frequencies. He believed that everything in the universe was connected, much the same way Einstein, said everything's relative to everything in the universe. So yeah, I definitely think he had an inkling that there's a lot out there. Another interesting story about him is that he supposedly had created the death ray machine. And the way he was going to test it was when I believe it was Admiral Byrd's expedition to the Arctic. He was going to aim his ray over the Arctic, and he wanted Admiral Byrd's expedition to report back whether they saw anything when he tested his ray. So something really weird happened on the day he tested his death ray that he aimed towards the North Pole. Do you know what that was?
What was it?
The Tunguska explosion.
Oh.
All right. Did he accidentally shoot a spaceship out of the orbit of Earth purely by accident?
Interesting. And for those people who don't know, can you kind of tell our listeners what that incident was?
It was a massive explosion that took down hundreds of miles of trees. Countless animals were burned to a crisp. A lot of villages were burned. They believe they saw a blue streaking object coming down, and the heat was incredible. And the Russians have always believed that it may have been some sort of extraterrestrial object, maybe possibly seeking water, because Tunguska is near the largest freshwater lake in the world. So
interesting. And even Albert Einstein had his thought experiments, correct?
I'm not familiar with. I know a lot about Einstein. I don't know about his thought experiments. You can enlighten me.
I think he lit a candle and went into deep meditation, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, and it was sort of downloading. And Elon Musk too. I'm telling you, if you watch him, sometimes it almost appears like he's being downloaded with something. He's sort of like, that's really interesting. I agree with you, Bob. I think there's people that are touched by and guided through to make big changes on our planet.
Yeah, Nostradamus, didn't he used to drop something into water and watch the ripples, and that's how he would see things in the future? And if you look at all of these people who were abducted, all right, there's a case right now that I'm looking at where these people believe that they have information downloaded into their brains, and you hear that story over and over and over again. Okay, and sometimes these people will write, numbers, random series of numbers that go on and on and on, and they say that it's been downloaded into their head. By who and by what? All right.
Bob, let me ask you a question about, because you have studied orbs and you touched on you working with orbs and stuff. One of the stories you told me quite a while back was a fascinating story about an orb that actually destroyed a town in ancient times.
Wow. Oh no, it was modern times. Yeah, it was 1970, I believe.
To me, that's ancient, bro.
Yeah, very interesting. One of the things I study about orbs is that they have a tendency to be violent. Okay, there have been times when they've acted in a benevolent way, where people have been lost in a forest and they followed an orb back to safety. But there are quite a number of instances throughout history where orbs were violent. Okay. Basically, when I told you about Thutmose III and with the Romans, I don't know what that object was. It's described as a big bright ball or meteorite. Was it an orb? In the 1100s, Robert the Bruce was trying to free Scotland from the British, and he told one of his soldiers, go across the river, flash your torch, and that's when we have the go-ahead to attack the British. They see this red light, very, very bright red light. They attack the British and get like wiped out. And they bring the spy back to Robert the Bruce, and he says, why did you, betray us? And the guy goes, I never made it across the river. Sorry, but that wasn't my torch. It was some sort of orb acting interference on behalf of the British, perhaps. The specific incident that Chris was asking about was in a place called Salidere, Ethiopia, and I believe it was 1970. And basically, a daytime orb, big red bright orb, makes its way down the main street of this village. And as it moved along the main street, it was ripping up the tar or whatever the road was made out of. At the same time, the facades of the buildings were fallen into the street, and there's pictures of the destruction. Even a little girl was killed in some of the destruction. But what's really weird is that when the orb got to the end of the village, it turned around, made a 180 degree turn, and came back and did more damage on the main street. So it was almost beyond doubt sentient in the way it was behaving. It captured the interest of Hynek and Vallée. They actually went to Salidere and they investigated it in person. It's in one of their books. They did a joint book together, Hynek and Vallée, and they talk about the case. They classified it as a CE4, total unknown, and violent and sentient orb.
Wow. Amanda asks also, and we only have less than 5 minutes left. So, but do you know of this elementary school that was hit by an orb or a?
No, unless you give me more specifics. All I know is that there are dozens and dozens of schoolyard cases. I mean, the more famous ones from Australia and Zimbabwe, Mindy Toutford's case from where was that, Oklahoma back in the 70s. But there are dozens and dozens more cases.
And you hear about like orb healings, and I know we don't have much time left before the break, but maybe you can start touching on, have you looked into the different colors of orbs? Because we hear red, orange, blue, white, and have you looked into the comparisons on that? What about these orbs that do alien healings? Have you looked into that?
We did back in 2015. I was working on something called Project Orange, and we actually classified by going through the case management system at MUFON, the CMS, where we keep our 130,000 cases, how many orbs were red, how many were orange, and we saw that the reddish orange orb was the most prominent, like 45%. Then you had red, then you had orange, then you had yellow, and then all other colors, with the least being of violet. When you get violet orbs, there's a good chance that you're dealing with some sort of ball lightning. All right, blue and purple orbs, especially if they touch something like an electrical wire, will be purple or blue. The orange ones are by far the most common, but a lot of people mistake things like Chinese lanterns for orbs. So how much would that skew the statistics on orbs? The fellow who has the most cases of orb healings is a fellow by the name of Albert Rosales, who has written a 15-book series called the Humanoids, the Others Among Us, and basically any sort of humanoid encounter you could think of, whether it's Bigfoot or Spring-Heeled Jack in the 1800s, or tall Nordics, little grays, whatever. He has 15 books of accounts just laid out one right after another in chronological order from 1 AD up until 2015. Okay.
Such a great book series. And I was talking about that book series just the other day. And I actually tried to go through and start highlighting and comparing. Bob, have you noticed, and we have less than 2 minutes, but have you noticed the different ETs? Like in the 70s, we hear them, landed in jumpsuits, but do you see a change decade after decade in what people are reporting?
Yes. Let me finish the one thing about orbs. If you really want to know a lot of orb stories, get his books, all right? One of them is an orb came down to a guy's balcony. I believe it was in Spain. It was one of the Spanish countries, maybe Portugal. And they turned into two little entities, okay? And the one entity said to the other, he is sick, heal him. And they do something to him. They turn back into a ball, an orb, and fly away. The guy's heart disease was cured overnight. So, yeah, and that's another pattern with orbs. Many times they turn into some sort of humanoid. All right.
Or Sasquatch, right? You hear that with Sasquatch too.
Or Sasquatch also. Yes, for sure. And what was the last question you were going to ask me with a minute left?
Oh yeah. Now 45 seconds. If you see a change in the types of ETs that you see, or even orbs, since we're on the topic of orbs, through the decades, through the reports.
Orbs, no. It's pretty standard. The types of, not necessarily humanoids either. Nordics are always in blue. What I notice is that the insignia that they always have on their chest, and I did an article on this also, seem to denote all sorts of geometric shapes, all right, or things that look like dogs' heads, all right. So it almost makes me wonder if, they're from different divisions, or if their uniforms are changing over the years to keep up with, the trend going on with aliens. But yes, I there are definitely subtle differences over the years. Some reports
very cool,
more of, some less.
Really cool.
Yeah. Well, it is that time for a break, so we will see you all on the other side of our 3-minute break. Hang in there.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
MUFON is the voice of thousands of like-minded people who want to see change. We speak up against UFO secrecy. We engage governments and agencies around the world on the topic. We share information with the public through our journal, website, newsletter, social media, and even our own TV channel. When you join MUFON, you add your voice to the cause. Few things are more important in our time than understanding the UFO question. Join MUFON. Find your friends.
Hundreds of thousands of people have claimed contact. If you're met face to face with something so alien, that will change you. It changed me.
Strange things would happen. This was something that I kept buried for years.
On Saturday, April 29th, KGRA Digital Broadcasting and Virgil Films have partnered to bring you an event that could open your mind to new possibilities. Watch John Yost recount his story in his documentary, Alien Abduction Answers. After the movie, participate in a live interactive panel where you can ask your questions in real time. You don't want to miss this event. Go to kgradb.com to claim your spot.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hey,
There I am.
there you are.
Welcome back. So, Bob, let's kind of switch from orbs and get into your international cases.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know you were going to take me there. Let me think for a second. Probably one. It is an orbs case. Back in 2020, there was the case with the FedEx pilot flying from Mexico City to Tennessee. He was carrying supposedly Ford car company parts for cars in his fuselage, and an orb came down on the left side of the plane. And what's interesting is that a lot of orbs that accost airplanes actually come down on the left side of the plane from above. And the object accompanied them at approximately 540 miles an hour for 33 minutes. All right.
Wow.
And what's really interesting, there's several interesting things about this, is that the pilot, who was a former pilot, he flew tankers that would refuel fighter jets over Iraq. So he knew how to fly in the dark. He can judge, space in absolute blackness. Really, really good. He was with FedEx 20 years. His co-pilot was an F-15 fighter pilot. So these guys were career pilots with military experience. When the orb came down, the pilot, Eric Delgado, had the wherewithal to do what most UFO witnesses don't do. All right. He actually took out his camera, he shut the cockpit lights off, and he began filming. And he filmed this orb for like 4 minutes. And at the end, you can hear him in the vocal of the video saying, "Turn on the TCAS, check above us, check below us." A TCAS is the plane's anti-collision radar system. And he actually pans down from looking at the object. He pans down to the console, okay? And it shows that there is absolutely nothing outside his window, even though he's put the camera right on his TCAS so that you, the person watching it, can see that there was nothing out there. The most unusual thing about it is that when they reached the American border at Texas, the object turned left and would not go across the U.S. border. So for several reasons, that rules out some sort of...
It's the only thing that's not coming across the U.S. border.
Yeah, right.
I can't figure that one out.
Especially this week.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Here we go again.
if it had been ball lightning, it would have been attracted to the airplane and probably would have exploded, hitting its lightning rod. All right. It would not have stayed magnetically close to an airplane and then at some point just depart if it was some sort of magnetic weather anomaly. Why didn't it go across the border? We spoke with Ted Rowe, who is who heads NARCAP. They investigate collisions and near collisions of aircraft with unknown objects, and there are some weird ones. But his theory was that this wasn't an orb at all. All right, it was a metallic sphere, probably some sort of probe, and that the reason it was covered in plasma is similar to what the United States Air Force and Navy are doing right now. They have the ability with an F-22 Raptor or an F-35 to shoot a plasma wall in front of the plane. Why is that interesting and important? Because a ground radar, say in Iran, all right, that is waiting for American fighter jets to attack a nuke facility, they're going to be looking for that plane. When you put a plasma field in front of the plane, plasma absorbs a radar signal, so it looks like nothing's there. Okay, so Ted Rowe's theory was that this was an actual technological object wrapping itself in plasma, which is why the TCAS didn't show it. But the question is, if it was that advanced, why didn't it keep going over into the United States? Did we have something that was better than what the spherical object wrapped in plasma had, all right, technologically, all right? It's very unusual. And I've always asked the one question to Eric, do you really believe that you were just carrying auto parts, or do you think you may have had something that was more interesting? The manifest said auto parts, all right? So the other thing is we have some interesting cases of the year. I do the presentation every year at the symposium.
Which is excellent, by the way.
It's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's okay.
It'll do.
And we have some interesting cases right now that we're considering for the symposium. And it's always from the year before. Last year we had some really interesting pilot cases. All right. The most famous case last year was the Channel Islands off the coast of California, where a pilot going from Florida to Hawaii saw what famously became the racetrack lights. Okay, at the same, that was a private plane. There was also a plane flying to Los Angeles past the Channel Islands, Catalina Island and such, going the other way, American Airlines Flight 6. And they also saw what looked like dots in the sky, all right? That whole month, all right, Kansas, Missouri, I believe Ohio, all similar reports, and multiple pilots actually took videos. But perhaps the weirdest one took place north of the Hawaiian Islands over the Pacific, and it seems that the Pacific Ocean is key to what's going on here. Whether it's the Chinese or all right, something's going on. So
it's kind of scary.
Yeah,
Pearl Harbor and all. I mean.
Yeah, and Guam, all right, which
yeah.
the Koreans have said they'll take out. So you have a plane going from Australia, and you have a plane going from Hawaii, and they're both going to Vancouver, and they catch up with each other, and they're side by side on their routes, and they both see this incredibly long object, okay, that seems to have, again, racetrack lights going around it, almost like satellite objects, all right, and.
So these lights are actually like going like this around.
Yeah, they said it.
Or is it like a figure 8 racetrack? Is it drag racing? Figure 8 racing?
Let's be specific here.
In circles, tight circles. Okay.
Oh, tight circles. Okay.
Yes, and the one pilot had again the wherewithal to take out a camera and start filming it. And what you have is this incredibly long, looks like white cylinder, and the video only captures what looks like one pinprick of starlight near it. Okay, so lucky for us, our Hawaii state director is an astrophysicist, all right, who graduated from Carnegie Mellon Institute, and he's a royal fellow. He's a Welsh guy. Richard Griffiths, very, very smart guy. He did some analysis on the object, and he claims that it was 2 miles long. All right, and he calculated the speed. He actually gave me a video, which I'm going to show at the symposium. But we're up in the air about it because Dennis Framuth, one of our photo analysts on our photo team, he's from Arizona, he did an analysis, and he said that, there was a SpaceX launch that night, all right, and that the SpaceX launch at that same time was releasing Starlink satellites. And from far away, and possibly at 37,000 feet, that long object may have been a Starlink trail seen at an angle. All right. So we're not sure how we're going to do it. The beauty of the cases of interest presentation that we do each year is we want a lot of audience participation. So we let the audience judge, go, here's the analysis from here. Here's the analysis from here. What do you think? Everybody that thinks it's an unknown, raise your hand. That type of thing is what we like to do. So, and if I was going to keep going on that, I had prepared a couple of slides.
Well, I want to take you right to that because we want to get a little bit of participation in your great pattern work you've been doing. You've been doing some great pattern work. We've talked about it in the past. And what I'd like to do is let's talk about the Chinese balloon and your study of everything that's being shot down and what your theory is of it.
Great.
And we'll go step by step with the photos. And you got the floor now, Bob. Take it away and let's talk about this.
Okay. Going back to the Hawaiian object. Okay. What I look for is patterns. There is actually another account from a military base in the 1950s that is actually in NICAP's 1964 publication, where multiple high-ranking generals and such saw a very long object that had satellite objects around it. So unless you go back to Werner von Braun and Elon and we had help and all of that, did Elon Musk have, Starlink satellites being deployed in the 1950s? If he did, then we know it's time travelers, all right, and that Elon is getting downloads. But a lot of what I'm going to talk here about we'll go probably to the cases of interest presentation because it ties into some of the things I just mentioned before. I've always had an issue about the Chinese balloon affair. Okay, on February 4th of this year, we shot down the initial Chinese balloon off the coast of the Carolinas, and I have a slide here, slide number 1, where we actually shot it down. We know it. There's the payload at the bottom of the screen. It's falling. It's a balloon. Okay. It's Chinese. There's no doubt about it. Okay. People were on the beach filming this. The Pentagon released the footage of us shooting down the balloon. Very transparent. Why they let it go over the entire United States before they shot it down is a mystery to me. They said it was for safety concerns, but then, they shoot down 3 other things over the continental, North United States and Canada. Now let's go ahead to March 24th. All right. Another incident where the Pentagon and the News Bureau were very forthcoming in releasing video footage. If you could show photo number 2 of the fighter jet. Basically, the United States is in a proxy war with Russia. It's Russia and the Ukraine. One of our spy drones was over the Black Sea, and it was harassed by a Russian fighter jet, which spilled fuel all over it. And this is actual clip from the footage from the drone of the fighter jet releasing fuel over the drone. The fighter jet came back around, bumped the drone from behind, which has a propeller at the back end of it. Propeller breaks. Drone goes out of control. The United States has to blow it up and it falls into the Black Sea, and the Russians are trying to retrieve it. Now, here's the interesting thing. Yeah, here's the picture of us retrieving the balloon. All right. The balloon was in the Atlantic Ocean, very cold. They got to it very quick. They knew exactly where they shot it down. I believe it was 80 feet of water deep. All right. And they retrieved it, and they make that public. Here's the problem I have. February 4th, they show all of this footage of the Chinese balloon getting shot down. March 24th, they show all of this video of the Russian fighter jet causing the downing of the drone. But in between, here's the important point. There were 3 other objects that got shot down, allegedly, by the United States government. One was over Alaska, one was over the Yukon in Canada, and one was over Lake Huron, okay? And we've never seen any footage. Never. They've denied the freedom of request reports, all right, saying that they can't do it for national security reasons. Here's another thing to consider. The Chinese were outraged about us shooting down the balloon, and they demanded it back. Nobody has claimed ownership, all right, of these 3 objects that were shot down over North America. And I'd like to go to the next photo, which is of Dead Horse, Alaska. The United States, just several days after these 3 shoot downs, and we're talking the topmost part of Alaska. This is what the top of Alaska looks like. It's tundra. I have been on a tundra. I have been 600 miles from the North Pole, and I'm telling you, it is just, you can see the curve of the earth, and it's just white. There's not a tree, all right, up there. They couldn't find this object. They couldn't find the one in Yukon, which I won't hold them to that because it was in a very wooded mountainous region, and they couldn't find the Lake Huron object, although they knew that they shot it down exactly 17 miles into United States territory after it crossed over from Canada. All right. I'm telling you, the United States satellites and cameras and radar that we have could find a dime in the Sahara Desert.
So do you think, Bob, then that like it's a made up story and they didn't shoot anything down?
Well, I have several theories about
let's hear those theories.
Okay, some people have claimed that it was, a hobby balloonist's balloons that they shot down. Once they discovered that a Chinese balloon could sneak across North America, NORAD tweaked their radar systems and may have found other things and panicked. And they may have shot down, some clubs, weather.
One was like in Illinois, right, or something.
No, the three that it was Alaska.
The club balloon. The club was out of Illinois. Yeah.
But remember that the jet stream goes west to east, all right? So most balloons will go that way, not that way, all right? That's another thing to consider. Now I lost my thought. What was I going to say?
Sorry about that.
The one over, Dead Horse. Okay, so anyway, they said, well, if it got covered with snow, they couldn't find it. I don't believe that for a second, okay, that they can't find these 3 objects. So if it was a hobby balloon, that's so devastatingly bad for our military in the eyes of China
you think?
and Russia that that's
in trouble.
That's what that we're in trouble. That's why they won't release the footage, all right, because it's just too embarrassing. But every military encounter, they have that camera on the bottom of the jet. They have that footage, all right, and they're not releasing it. The second reason is that maybe it is Chinese or Russian technology, and it's so advanced that we can't let the United States public know, and China and Russia don't want it to be known either, so they're not squawking about it. All right, and we may have retrieved it, and it is a really legitimate, national security concern. And that's bad. All right. The third possibility is that maybe they shot something down and they don't know what it is. All right. So they can't tell us. All right. But a lot of people said to me, well, if it's aliens from, with a society that's 10,000 years more technologically advanced than us, our jets would never shoot it down. So it can't be aliens. And that leads me to the fourth point. Maybe it is aliens, all right? Maybe they're not showing us the footage because they didn't shoot anything down, all right? Maybe all three objects got away. All right. And that's probably the most concerning, is that if they couldn't catch these things, it goes back to 1952 with the objects over Washington, D.C., over the Capitol. Our best jets couldn't catch them. And our fighter jets with the Tic Tacs couldn't catch them. All right. And maybe they just can't let us see that these things got away, whatever they were. And that brings me to the Lake Huron object. Let's see, what's the next picture here that I have? Okay. Leave that one up for a while. The pilot with the Alaskan object said that it interfered with his cockpit instrumentation. Now, they've claimed that one was a weather balloon, all right, from some hobby club. And I don't think a weather balloon or a Pico weather balloon that doesn't look anything like the shape we're going to talk about in a couple of minutes, a weather balloon can't affect the cockpit instrumentation of a fighter jet, okay? Now, with the Lake... Let's hope not, yeah, because that's another bad thing, all right? The guy that was in the fighter jet that allegedly took down the Lake Huron object made some interesting statements. He said, A, he couldn't recognize it. B, it looked like an octagon. Okay. C, it took 2 Sidewinder missiles to take it down. 2 $400,000 missiles to take it down.
Didn't they lose one of them?
That's right. They believe one malfunctioned. So if the guy in Alaska's cockpit instrumentation was affected, what's the chances that maybe a Sidewinder missile, which is much less sophisticated than the jet itself, that instrumentation failed and that went in a drink? All right. Because curiously enough, there was a story came out 2 weeks after the shoot downs that a 127-year-old shipwreck was found in Lake Huron. Okay. And I found that very coincidental. What it says to me is that there is some sort of large underwater search going on, and they just happened to find this old shipwreck. All right. But they haven't found the Sidewinder missile. Another thing is that ABC News said the day after the shoot down that the Lake Huron object was unmanned. All right. So if you put this all together, the pilot couldn't identify it. He said it looked like an octagon. All right. The United States military can't find it. All right. So how would they possibly know it was unmanned? Right. Something doesn't add up. All right. Now, this picture of the cube here, back in 2020, there was a Colombian fighter jet that, not a fighter jet, a commercial jet that was flying one way, and this cube-like object, all right, with many facets to it, flies under their plane. It became so famous it made a TV show. The Proof is Out There, I believe, is the name of the show. If I'm not mistaken, with the former CNN commentator that hosted. But basically, he filmed this object flying by, and it was basically the size of a Volkswagen Beetle. All right. If you remember a couple of weeks ago at the Arrow hearings, the public hearings with Dr. Kirkpatrick, he said that they've been studying objects that are approximately 5 feet, 15 meters, all right, which would make them roughly the size of a Volkswagen. All right. This seems to be the size that they're zeroing in on. Now, on June 5th of last year, a pilot going from Rhode Island to Philadelphia International Airport was 20 miles out in the Atlantic at 15,000 feet, coming in on his final approach. He just happened to be 25 miles out from McGuire Fort Dix, which we all know is like a black triangle hotbed. All right. When all of a sudden a small object, and you can show the next picture, picture 6, this thing flies past him and it almost collides. And the pilot's own words in the report to MUFON was that if this thing had even hit us with a glancing blow, it would have been catastrophic. He described it as the size of an car's engine block. So again, we have yet another small object. The pilot in the Lake Huron case also said that the object was fairly small. All right. Now, when I looked at this picture, and I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a little bit, just because it reminded me of two other historical cases. All right. If you could show the next picture, the Japanese picture, back in 1844, there was an object washed up on shore in Japan. And basically, you can see the size of it. It's the size of a, engine block in a car, or maybe a little bigger. They open it up, and there is a woman with red hair inside, and she cannot speak Japanese. They don't know what to do with her. She's holding a box, almost like Pandora, and she would not let them open the box. They don't know what to do with her. They closed the lid, and they pushed her back out to sea. I was curious because the stripes on the bottom of the object and looks similar to the cube from the Colombian video, and it looks similar to the drawing of the pilot coming into Philadelphia. Okay. And also, if you look at the top of the object, it almost looks like solar panels or windows. All right. So the question is, who was this, red-haired lady back in 1844 that washed up in this object in Japan? But when I was looking at the stripes on this one, it reminded me of another case. And if we could go to, yes, this is a picture of what Daniel Fry took in 1949. For those of you not familiar with the White Sands incident, Fry wrote an entire book and created almost like a cult-like following after this, with newsletters and stuff for many years. He believes that he was taken aboard this object and that he never saw any aliens, but he was spoken to by some sort of electronic voice. Now, this would be big enough of an object to hold a human being, but again, we're looking at something that could be construed as, Volkswagen Beetle-sized, possibly cube-shaped or diamond-shaped to somebody who's seeing it whiz by their airplane at 500 miles per hour while they're going the other way. All right, so it's there's no proof in the pudding here, but I just find it very odd that we've been seeing similar types of objects all throughout history. Okay. Okay. Now, we actually have videos, and I'm only going to show you one, of small, fast objects that have been circumventing the Earth for at least the last 8 or 9 years. All right. And the first one is a MUFON case from 2016 from a very, very, very remote area of Canada called Hasse Lake, Hasse Lake, and it was analyzed by recently retired Canadian National Director Dave Palachuk. And I just want to give Dave Palachuk a shout out here. He retired after many, many great years of service. The new National Director of Canada is now Eric Tessier, but Dave was responsible for building a wonderful chapter for MUFON Canada, and I just want to give him a shout out.
Yeah.
And anyway, he analyzed this video, and I'm going to show you I'm going to set you up for the video, and then I'll show you the video. A guy in autumn, in October, has got his drone, and as you know, the FAA in the United States and Canada have similar restrictions on how high drones can go. So drone's about 500 feet up max, and he's taking video of all of the beautiful autumn foliage in this remote mountainous part of Canada. All of a sudden, this object comes whizzing by, all right, at very fast, and I'll get into that in a minute. But if we could show that video, I believe it's 8. Okay, wow. Can we show that again? People now that they know where it's coming from, watch this. Is it coming out of the trees? Look at that. Wow. It flew within like 20 feet of the drone. It's no bigger than a car engine block. right? And it seems to be almost like a curved foil with no means of propulsion. Okay, here's where it gets mind-blowing. Frame by frame breakdown of the video. You know, how far it came from till it passed the drone. It was going at Mach 7. All right, a building this big, maybe, with no visible means of propulsion, was going 5,000 miles per hour. Okay.
Wow. Do we have any stills of it, like a freeze frame?
I'll show now we're going to go 3 weeks later to Alamere, North Carolina. 3 weeks later, all right? I'm not going to show you every video because a lot of times the things were going so fast that the person who submitted the videos actually had to slow the video down and show it at a slower pace, or you wouldn't have even seen it, okay? But the next video is still is from North Carolina 3 weeks later, if you could show that one. It's almost exactly the same size, all right? When you see this coming across the sky over this North Carolina town, 3 weeks after the other one, going at approximately 5,000 miles per hour again, you have to ask yourself, what are these things that are traversing, the globe? This is in North Carolina, thousands of miles away from, Haas Lake, Canada. Okay, let's keep going. Show the next one. If you see that white object up in the sky, that was from Wisconsin. And again, when you break apart this video, this object is shooting across the Wisconsin sky at 5,000 miles per hour. Okay, and I think there's one more. If you look to the church in the lower left, the big red building, look up to the right, you can see this white, looks like a Tic Tac. It's actually not a Tic Tac, but again, it is flying from, the top of the page and straight over down past the church. Again, it's going 5,000 miles per hour. It's no bigger than a car engine block. What are these things, all right, that are scurrying all over the world, that almost collide with the pilot coming into Philadelphia Airport, all right? What is the small cube thing from Colombia? What is that octagon, that small octagon, or possibly multifaceted diamond or cube-shaped object that the pilot over Lake Huron allegedly shot down? And here's where we've reached the event horizon of the black hole, and now I'm going to make it really weird, okay? I decided to search the CMS for octagons. You can search the MUFON case management system with keywords, and not many people do that, and I wish more field investigators would do it, because you can come up with a lot of patterns, okay? And when I did searches for octagons and pentagons and sextagons, all right, I wasn't ready for what I got, because we're so used to dealing with orbs and with discs and spheres and triangles and the occasional boomerang or rectangle. You're not ready for, octagons and sextagons and pentagons, all right? But what I found was sort of amazing. And if you want to show the first one, this is a drawing by the witness, all right, from Milano, Texas. And just give me a second, I'll tell you the year. It was December of 2012, Milano, Texas. And basically there is a video that goes with this, but it's a very low quality video. A mother and her son, adult son, were in a car being chased by this object. And this is what the son drew on a computer when he submitted his MUFON report. But the video that went with this basically shows a whitish light following the car. The mother is in a panic. The son's going, slow down, I want to keep filming it. And she starts cursing at him, we have to get the F out of it. We have to get out of here. Why are you all right? It is the scariest vocal in a video I have ever heard in a video. So this is the first one I encountered, 2012, okay? The next one I encountered was this object from Sun City, California, in 2014. Now, this is where it gets really weird because next to several of these octagons that were seen by witnesses, the witnesses give an approximate size. And basically, the next few I'm going to show you all come in at between 30 and 60 feet wide in diameter, which is very large, okay? So this was seen in Sun City. And if you look to see what is of strategic importance in that area, you have the Navy SEAL training base. So is there a military reason for this 60-foot wide octagon to be near a sensitive military location? Okay, the next one is from Bean Blossom, Indiana. All right, 6 days later. And basically, it's the same type of object. And the witness reports that it's about 60 feet and that it has a very unusual lighting pattern on the bottom of the object. And this is the witness illustration where it had different patterns of yellow lights going back and forth. And I believe that there's a very important purpose for these lights, but I can't figure it out. But I will let you guys guess as we go along. So this is in Indiana, 6 days after the previous one in Sun City, California. Let's next go to 2 years later, April 2016, and the witness draws this, a 60-foot wide octagon. It flies over their car. And this is the drawing that the witness submitted. So these things are all the same size. That makes you say it is either the same craft over a number of years, all right, doing the same thing, or it's the same type of craft, okay? And we're going to get into a couple more. What's the next one? Okay, the next one is 17. Now, this one was actually a long cylindrical object, but it had two types of octagon-shaped lights at each end. And this was in a place called, I forget what the name of it. It was west of Edmonton, Alberta, Stony Plains. All right, here we go, Stony Plain. Now, look what's just 15 miles west of Stony Plain, where this 60-foot octagon was seen. Do we remember Haas Lake? That's the video I showed you earlier. All right. I looked around. There's no military bases, but this is a very, very remote forested area of Canada. And I believe that there might be some sort of alien or time traveler base hidden in this part of Canada, because that's just too unusual. We have an object going 5,000 miles per hour over at Haas Lake, and then 15 miles east of there, we have a 60-foot octagon that is very similar to 5 other octagon reports that we've been getting over the years. All right. Now, let's put it all together. One more slide here. Okay, this is maybe the best witness video I've ever seen. This was last year, Louisville, Kentucky in August. And remember, this is exactly the same time that the racetrack light UFOs are being seen over Catalina Island and, over various parts of the United States. August last year was phenomenal for UFO reports. 60-foot, all right. Again, you have the yellow lighting pattern, yellow and orange and red, and a lot of these octagons, or in this case it's a disc, but I believe that most of the other people were seeing the same thing as this. What is this thing doing? All right, what do the lighting patterns mean? And here's where it gets really unusual. This happened at exactly 4:15 in the morning. And for those of you who don't know what MADAR is or what Project Match is with MUFON, Project Match, MADAR is a unit that basically is operated by Fran Ridge of NICAP. It's a small unit. You plug it into your modem in your house. It detects rapid rises and falls in barometric pressure, and it also measures sudden changes in the magnetic field of the Earth for a several mile wide area. Okay, and we can show a clip of the MADAR headquarters. This is the MADAR headquarters. That's Fran Ridge. He operates a program with us where if he gets a MADAR hit where something unusual happens, he will contact MUFON to see if there is a correlating MUFON case. The idea behind the MADAR unit is that a sudden drop or rise in barometric pressure and a sudden change in the magnetic field of the Earth in that area suggests strongly that something just entered the Earth's atmosphere or left the Earth's atmosphere. Now that
interesting
big orange disc with the hexagonal lights on the bottom of it, that happened at 4:15 in the morning.
Oh, wow.
At 4:15 in the morning in Louisville, the MADAR unit went off. Okay. Probably the greatest correlation that MADAR and Project Match ever had with MUFON. This object, almost without doubt, came into the atmosphere and hovered over somebody's house. All right. So, I don't know what you want to make of it, but I see patterns there. All right. And I think that the more we investigate the patterns, the closer we're going to get to an answer as to what might be going on.
Bob, that's just fascinating. Thank you for sharing all of those. I could just sit and listen to you talk about them all night. It's so cool. I'm kind of going to switch subject a little bit, but just for those out there, who don't know, can you kind of explain what the Director of International Investigations is? And does that mean you get to hop around and go globetrotting and investigate these things? And,
I wish.
And also, I'm curious if you notice anything, how have the ability to document MUFON investigations changed over the years? I know that we've improved the software systems and the databases, and I'm wondering if you can talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, I don't get to travel. They don't let me go anywhere except the symposium. But the way international works is we don't have the presence abroad that we have in the United States. We have lots of field investigators in the United States. So in the major countries around the world with large populations like Canada, England, Australia, Brazil, Japan, Korea, we have national directors, and a few of them actually have field investigators working under them. Otherwise, those fellows or ladies in those countries actually do the cases themselves for MUFON. They're field investigators in other countries. They're national directors. The issue is sometimes you have countries with no national director or no field investigators, like Morocco or the Sudan. All right. So how do you investigate those cases? We use what's called CAG, the Case Assistance Group, and there's two CAGs actually. They're under Fred Kohler, who's a PA field investigator. He's director of CAG and CAG International. He reports to me. Basically, when there aren't any field investigators in those countries, he assigns a special team of investigators, depending on what part of the world they prefer to work in. So if somebody likes to work Asia cases, he will give them Asia cases. If we have a case from Taiwan with an excellent video, we have a video guy that will analyze a Taiwanese video, and that's pretty much how international works. So it's definitely different than the way the United States operates, because we have far less people. As far as what we're doing on the tech end, we've made amazing progress in updating the MUFON technology for MUFON.com, for enhancing our ability to back up the CMS off-site to several places for its own protection. All right. We are, as we speak, within the next 72 hours, going to be moving to a new super duper server that will house not only the CMS, but MUFON.com, the symposium website. It will eventually house Mars. All right. So it houses the Observer Network, which is our social network. So we've made incredible strides technologically. We're also going to have a dedicated computer with a special photo analysis software that any of our photo analysis team can log into remotely to headquarters in order to do photo analysis. Yeah, we got it all going on.
Awesome. Yeah.
Hey, Bob, I want to take you back to, the stuff that you were talking about. First of all, if you're going, Mach 7, you said Mach 7. All right, so you're at hypersonic speed. When you played that video, has anybody actually seen if that object came out of the woods or did it just appear in the air? That was a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, we couldn't tell. I originally thought it came out of the woods, but it could have been skimming along the top of the trees for thousands of miles, for all I know. But what's interesting is it rose up to see what the drone was. So it seemed to be concerned that it had been observed, and it did a quick. It rose up in altitude to come close to the drone, I guess, to analyze if it was a threat.
Do you think, because this is happening all over the world, do you think whoever owns these drones or objects is mapping the landscape of not only the United States, but all over? I mean, let's face it, if you were going to know more about each individual civilization, wouldn't you want to map the terrain?
That's a good idea, but that's a fairly old theory. If you remember APRO and Karel Lorenzen back in the 60s and 70s, that was already a theory that was considered, that these UFOs were mapping the terrain, checking our planet for resources like fresh water and gold.
Right.
So it would seem, and remember all of those cases in the 50s in France where, the little guys were seen picking up, rocks and plants and stuff, specimens. You would think that they'd have all of that done by now, right? So
if we wanted to see how our civilization has changed, we would do it more than once. See, because things change over the course of years, don't you think, Bob?
Well, sure. I mean, we're polluting the planet on a regular basis, so they may want to be monitoring progress. But to my view of it is, I would think that they're more interested in how we're developing technologically, which is why they've shut down, missile, silos in the past, and why they're seen around nuclear plants. All right. So I would think they're more interested in how we can destroy ourselves than whether or not we're poisoning, Lake George.
Right.
All right.
What do you think they think of AI, Bob?
I have a lot of thoughts on AI. I don't know if you've ever seen the TV show Person of Interest with Jim Caviezel.
Oh yeah.
It was from 2012 to like 2015. We're watching it now, all right? And it's basically about an AI that initially is helping people, but starts to become sort of schizophrenic, just like what the New York Times reporter wrote about with the AI system that he tested. And the AI in this TV show in 2012 is, at the level of a 7-year-old child, but it's constantly sucking in everything. And just the other day, they said that the AI that, Open AI is inventing right now is at the level of a 7-year-old child and exponentially learning. The plot in the TV show also describes increased violence in the United States, a breakdown of law, a stock market crash. All right. And I'm saying to myself, oh my God, everything that's in this TV show from 2012 is happening now. So it makes you wonder, do they already know what's going to happen? All right. And, are aliens watching and waiting for this? Are they participating in it? Are they helping governments crash a civilization? All right. Are all our politicians on the take, whether it's China or, Luthor from, the planet Gog? I don't know. But something is not is not right. All right now. And the AI, it's psychotic, it's scary. All right. And at some point, it could have the ability to like lock onto the nuclear codes. There was a movie back there was a movie in 1970 called Forb and the Colossus Project. It was a made-for-TV movie. I watched it as a kid. And basically, a guy invents an AI. All right. At the end of the movie, it teams up with a Russian AI. It takes over the world. And the last scene in the movie is the inventor, an Elon Musk type guy, being put up against the wall and shot at the orders of the AI. So
wow.
I believe that they've known what's going to happen for a long, long time in our society.
Do you think our civilization's being manipulated by AI or time traveling?
I without doubt, I believe that there are at least two opposing forces manipulating our timeline that are at odds with each other. And I don't want to go out on a limb and say that, it could have something to do with, revelations or the end of the world, but it's starting to suspiciously look like, some of these UFOs might be diabolical time travelers, if not aliens. I think time travelers and aliens are probably the two best theories that I think will pan out.
Here's one thing that would scare me about AI, and I don't know if you read this, that they've had AI systems begin to hallucinate.
Huh? Oh my goodness.
And if an AI system can hallucinate, then it can take on, say, a schizophrenic personality.
Wow.
I'll tell you another scary thing. They hooked up an MRI to a person, all right, while showing him a picture of a giraffe. So you can visualize on a screen the electrical impulses of the brain seeing a giraffe. But you don't see a giraffe, you see electrical impulses. At the same time, they hooked up an AI software program to analyze the flashes of light. And the AI program was able to turn the flashes of light into a giraffe. Okay, so that means that within several years, they're going to be able to put the helmet on your head and see what you're thinking. All right, that's one thing. The other thing that I heard last week was that they believe by the end of 2024, AI will be able to crack any encryption of any bank in the world. So imagine where your money's going to go suddenly. All right.
And mayonnaise jars in the ground.
Yeah. In Sophia's pocket.
Yes.
So
that's
so
the
we
problem.
do know,
Is
like,
they're
there's
not going to
probably
accept paper currency. It'll all be digital.
Right. Yeah, cryptocurrency. But it makes sense, Bob, because we know there was probably over 150 projects. And speaking of our ex-COO, he had mentioned a project called Project Looking Glass, which I think, we had played with, time travel and that. And Bill brings up a good question. Do you think that hypothetically, like ET could be, this is Bill's question, hypothetically helping advance AI? And if we had Project Looking Glass and we're aware of what's to come in the future, because we see time as linear, but we know it's cyclical. It's not linear. Maybe they are aware of what's to come in the future and they're manipulating what's going on. Like you said, what do you think of that, Bob? And gosh, we're running out of time already. I think we have 4 minutes or something left.
If that,
Yeah. One of the things with time travel, it says that we can't, if we haven't invented the machine yet to time travel, then the furthest point back in time we can go is to the point that the machine has been built. So if they built the machine today, 200 years ago, we can go back in time till today, but not 5,000 years ago, unless somebody invented the time machine 5,000 years ago, and it's been here for a very, very long time, whether it's aliens or whoever. But that would mean it'd be very easy to go back and forth in time. And if governments and aliens and time travelers and the whole shamo were working together, it's like they could be they have, I believe, been manipulating things for 5,000 years.
Well, they talk about that bed that you can go on, and that healing bed, and can get your body and your cells to the point of how they were in the past. So we've heard that before. So there may not be time. It's interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
I would just say this. I think if any kind of system that can hallucinate, write its own programs without your permission is a danger, because they have absolutely proven that AI can develop its own language that we can't crack without us controlling it. They've done it on their own. When a program like that can have, mental health problems, is the only way I can explain it. We got that's some serious problems,
Yeah.
And I also find it suspicious that in the last year, AI has done leaps and bounds. AI has been around for a long time. The idea of it, the primal, package, but all of a sudden, it's moving at a speed that we can't even comprehend. Is there outside intervention manipulating the speed at which this is developing? I don't know where we're going to be in 2-3 years, but I don't think it's going to be good.
I mean, computers are getting smarter and smarter. Oh my gosh, Bob, where can people see you? Where are you going to be? You're going to be at the MUFON Symposium.
And Pine Bush.
Pine Bush. In Pine Bush. All right.
June 3rd, and I'll be speaking on, I guess it's Sunday the 27th, doing the Cases of Interest presentation in Covington, Kentucky at the MUFON Symposium.
Oh,
okay.
Awesome. Cool. This has been amazing, Bob. Yeah, this has been amazing. We're going to have you back on again. I mean, right, guys?
Yeah.
It's been incredible. I want to thank you so much, Bob, for being here with us. This time flew by, as it always does. I want to thank our producer, Amanda Curran. And I want to thank Bill Skywatcher, our producer, and Tara Diulis and Christopher DeFerno. And to all our amazing listeners out there, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Yeah. And I hope that y'all make it to the symposium. And just really quick, one last quick question for you, Bob. We have just a few seconds left. Do you need to be a MUFON member to get in that MADAR program?
No, you don't. You would have to contact NICAP, NICAP.com, and I also believe they have a website, MADAR. Look up MADAR 3 Roman numerals, MADAR 3 unit, and you'll be able to find Fran Ridge's website and project.
Excellent. Is there any place people can contact and reach out to you, Bob?
My email at MUFON is DOII@MUFON.com, DOII being Director of International Investigations. And I just want to thank you guys. I know you guys a long time, and you have all been wonderful to me, and you are brilliant minds working on brilliant projects, and I'm very impressed with knowing you guys too.
Good to see you again, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
We will see you guys all next weekend. Next Tuesday night, we have Melinda Leslie on live. So we will see you guys next Tuesday night. Have a fantastic rest of your week, everybody. Good night.